This episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Legion on FX. The first look at Marvel's Avengers game has fans disappointed. Move over, CGI Sonic, because there's a new game in town. Literally. Now, the first trailer for Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers game dropped during the developer's E3 press conference, and suffice it to say, it has many a fan questioning which reality they're in. Berenstain or Berenstein. After the back-to-back releases of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, it felt like the superhero team could do no wrong. Beyond the box office receipts, the public reception has made the Avengers, and by extension the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a cultural touchstone beyond their traditional comic book trappings. So when it was announced that an Avengers game was coming from the folks behind the rebooted Lara Croft series, it was no surprise that fan expectations were shooting through the roof. Cut to Monday when the first look for the game made its debut, and instead of a mic drop, general fan reaction was basically, was that supposed to be Mark Ruffalo? What's with Tony Stark's hair? I think it's sexy. Is that supposed to be the MCU Captain America or the comic book version of him? And seriously, is that supposed to be Mark Ruffalo? While some fans were upset over the lack of gameplay in the trailer, most were perturbed over the Uncanny Valley version of the heroes when compared to the team they've come to know and love in the MCU. To be honest, the comparisons may be unfair because the game's developers have said it doesn't tie into the MCU, but to be equally honest, it certainly seems to be taking design cues from their big screen brethren instead of hewing more closely to their comic book counterparts. And of course, fans were quick to take to Twitter to point out their frustrations and criticisms with the character models, so let's run down some of the best internet reactions. First off, a lot of people commented on the characters' lack of resemblance to the MCU heroes. At Scott Wampler BMD tweeted, "Live, look at me watching Square Enix's Avengers game trailer at the precise moment where I realized they didn't get likeness rights for any of the actors." However, it was at Roy Wood Jr. who probably uncovered the real reasons we got these weird knockoff Avengers with, "Marvel, we want to use y'all likenesses in the new Avengers game. Avengers cast. Cool. We each need $576,275,592.48. Marvel. Cool. Let me hit y'all right back." In response, at Eric Kwon Art reminded us that the difference between this Captain America and the Dark Knight is that Christian Bale doesn't wear hockey pads. At Mill Beefle gave us some alternate Avengers aliases with, "I didn't think seeing the Avengers not looking like the MCU versions was going to be so weird for me, but it is. They look like a strange bootleg Avengers in my brain. Major USA, Steel Guy, Dark Spider, The Bulk, not Thor." At Medina Erickson reminded us of this great moment from Spaceballs, my favorite movie of all time, that memed up perfectly with the trailer. "You idiots! You captured their stunt doubles!" At Ash Crossan compared these Avengers to the evil tethered doppelgangers from Jordan Peele's Us. We're not sure which group is creepier. And if that wasn't enough, Star Wars lore master took to Twitter himself. At Pablo Hidalgo said it all in 3 words. Dinner Theater Avengers. Ooh. That hurts. Joking aside, it may have been at Midnight Cap who summed things up best with, the Avengers game probably should have distanced itself from the look of the MCU more. Having a Bruce Banner dressed and styled like Mark Ruffalo really reminds you that it's not Mark Ruffalo. Embrace a new look. Now, to be fair, this isn't the first time that we've seen altered versions of Marvel heroes in video games. Just last year, Sony released their Spider-Man game for PS4. So what made the reaction so different to that game? Well, first off, that Peter Parker felt and looked like an amalgam of all the various movie Peter Parkers. Plus, the main suit looked different enough from both the movie and comic book versions to stand out on its own. And all of the unlockable costumes weren't afraid to dip into either world for inspiration. But the main reason may be simply because Peter's head and face was covered by the mask most of the time, and players mostly saw him from behind. With the exception of Iron Man, it doesn't appear that this Avengers game will have that same option. But does that mean it's all bad and that we should cry into our cereal bowls? No, of course not. There was also a lot of positive to come out of the Marvel's Avengers E3 presentation. Beyond the fact that the game is coming to us from one of the better developers in recent memory, one of the features that has fans most excited is that the DLC will be free. All upcoming game areas and new heroes will be freely available to players. And according to the developers, this is not just some one-and-done game, as they plan to have a multi-year narrative for the title to have players coming back for more content. The game will also feature both single-player and multiplayer co-op, without having things like loot boxes or pay-to-win mechanics. To top all that off, the The game has a very impressive voice cast for its heroes, with the likes of voice acting superstars Troy Baker, Nolan North, and Laura Bailey bringing the Avengers to life. Overall, we get why fans are upset. The character models definitely left us scratching our heads too, but a lot can change between now and when the game drops next May. Perhaps we just needed to get the Band-Aid ripped off, and by next year we will all be on board for these Avengers new looks. But what do you folks think? Were you thumbs up or thumbs down for these new looks? Should they have paid millions of dollars for actors' likenesses and voices, or would you prefer that money went into the game's development? And what conditioner do you think Iron Man uses? Because that is some serious volume in that hair. Let's discuss. Thanks again to today's sponsor, Legion, which premieres Monday, June 24th on FX. Based on Marvel Comics, the mind-bending series follows Professor Xavier's son, David Haller, as he discovers that he might be the most powerful mutant the world has ever seen. In this final chapter, David must recruit another mutant named Switch, whose time-traveling abilities is essential to David's plan to save himself. Catch the beginning of the end when Legion returns on Monday, June 24th at 10 p.m. on FX.